Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Today's topic is nearshoring in Mexico. I will be guiding you through this interesting conversation today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sunita Prasad, and I am the Vice President of Corporate Development and Investor Relations at Revolve. This webinar is the second in a series of webinars that the team at Revolve will be hosting over the next 12 months. Today, we have three participants who have firsthand on-the-ground experience in Mexico. They will be sharing their knowledge and experiences with us. Let me introduce the participants to you. First, we have Rigoberto Burjaquez, and Rigoberto is the head of project development at Revolve. Then we have Humberto Bustamante, and Humberto is the Group Technical Manager at Revolve. We have Eric Hickard, and Eric is the Head of Distributed Generation at Revolve. So let's start with a general question. Rigoberto, let me start with you. Can you please explain to our viewers what is nearshoring and how is Mexico related to this phenomenon?
Oh, certainly, Sunita. Thank you very much for the introduction. Hello, everyone. In broad terms, very, very broad terms, of course, this phenomenon is a little bit more complex than this, but nearshoring could be understood as simply as relocation of certain business operations to a nearby country in order to cut costs and the inefficiencies caused by long distances and especially time difference. Like not everybody is awake at the same time. So this usually, or at least frequently, disrupts the supply chains. Okay. And in this context, answering your second question, Mexico offers a great advantage for companies with interest in the United States, specifically United States of America market. With the USA, Mexico shares an extensive border with the US and several cities that just across the border, or at least with good communication and transportation routes. And of course, there's another element very important: the commercial benefits offered by the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement. You remember, no, the USMCA, the one that actually substituted NAFTA. Mm-hmm. So I can tell you that rethinking the global supply chains is happening right now, and it will probably be a continuous reality for the next 3-5 years. Well, we know for certain that this is not something like permanent, right? It will not last forever. So there's this current scenario where manufacturing activities and also warehouses in Mexico are becoming more and more attractive for multinational companies.
And Humberto, what is your view on this topic of nearshoring and the potential you consider it has for Mexico?
Well, complementing what just Rigoberto said, nearshoring refers to the process of outsourcing a business or production process to a provider located geographically close country. For example, a company based in the US can outsource its production to a supplier in Mexico or Canada, so it's close by. The advantage of nearshoring is that the company gets advantage of this geographic proximity and also the cultural and linguistical similarity to maintain greater control and better communication with the supplier. The role that Mexico has obtained in nearshoring is significant, having a large part of the US import manufacturing market. One of the indicators of the growth of nearshoring since COVID is that the American imports of manufactured products have grown 26% from 320 billion to 402 billion. In this way, Mexico's market share has increased significantly compared to the other countries that imports to the United States.
Wow.
Another interesting phenomenon is that the Chinese manufacturers company have emerged in Mexico as a strategy to build and expand their capabilities closer to the American market and also the European market in certain way. In this way, Chinese companies have begun to move their manufacturing to Mexico to better serve the needs of the customers in the US and take advantage of the good terms of diplomatic relationships between United States and Mexico, and thus immunize themselves from the arising tensions in the existing geopolitical relationships between China and United States. Sonita.
Wow. Okay, so Rigoberto, if nearshoring is taking place already, can you touch base on what the picture looks like going forward from here?
Yeah, sure. Well, what you mentioned, at least I believe it's 100% true. Nearshoring is it's not something that will happen in the future, right? It's it's a description of a phenomenon. This is already happening. It's nothing like someone actually believing, okay, let's do nearshoring and let's start doing that the first time. No, someone actually realized that relocating their elements, consultants, their supply chains will bring a large benefit, and they decide to do it. So this word nearshoring is just the description of this phenomenon that's already happening. And it affects both the companies that are new to the area and that they want to establish in a certain place for the first time, and also those that are already there, but they have plans to increase their size, their platforms, a line of products, etc. Right? In the case of Mexico, of course, we're talking about specifically the American market, yes, and how all these companies will have the eyes of this market upon them. Now, the proposal that these companies will present, they have to that proposal has to go according to the interest of the market, of course, in terms of quality. Yeah, it is not as simple as, oh yes, I'm gonna move this company to another place just to get less quality because it's closer. No, you have to actually keep at least the same quality. Of course, you are expecting short delivery times. Yes, I mean, that's one of the main points, right? But there's one specific point that I would like to highlight, and that's the corporate policies that large international companies they want to keep no matter where they go. And this is especially relevant for the market that we handle. Why? The best example I can think about is the demand for clean energy for the production lines. Some companies even they have these policies about that every single product that they use, they do not produce it, but they actually require it. Yes, for their own line of productions, those products also have to have been like created using green energy, right, from renewable projects. So, if you ask me about the picture that lays ahead of us,
yeah,
I believe that picture is pretty green.
Okay. So energy needs are, of course, going to increase tremendously. So let me go to Humberto. Humberto, do you feel energy will be a challenge for Mexico with respect to nearshoring?
Yes, it definitely will.
Yeah.
Nearshoring has pulled over 9 billion of investment into Mexico since last year by manufacturers like Unilever, Mattel, and Tesla, lured by the proximity to the US markets, reduced labor costs, and also the geopolitical stability in the area. But certainly the biggest challenge, the big technical challenge for industrial parks is the energy supply. In the context to have enough supply, they need to create their own energy projects, but are under the pressure to spend millions of dollars to build federal power transmission lines and substations amid government underinvestment, growing energy demand, and aging infrastructure, which is at capacity. While these industrial parks have long contributed to the state infrastructure, the lines and specifications now required are getting much longer and costlier in the Mexico's manufacturing north. The way I see it, energy solutions are greatly needed and can be achieved mainly in two ways. From one side, leveraging project sizing in utility scales and creating private infrastructure for the biggest energy consumers, like steel producers. And the other side, you can generate energy on-site with distributed generation for the regular industrial consumers like automotive and electronics. Revolve is well positioned to take the advantage of these two aspects. Sunita.
Oh, thank you. So sounds like nearshoring really is a phenomenon in Mexico, and timing could not be better for Revolve. So let's move to Eric and see what he has to say about the subject. So Eric, can you also talk about why distributed generation, which we also refer to as DG, is relevant to nearshoring?
Sure, Sunita. Basically, I'll give you a practical example. We have companies that are coming to us with problems, with power problems. They're trying to get energy supply, electricity supply from the national grid, and it's challenging. Sometimes it's available, sometimes it's not, and then all of a sudden they have that problem where they have to probably generate on site. So that's DG. The national grid is definitely going to expand in capabilities, capacity, power, etc. But that's going to take a long time, and companies need those solutions now. Or yesterday. They're already in desperate need, and there's a number of examples. I mean, people we're talking to that are just super desperate to get access to a solution. So that's where DG can come in. DG can be implemented very quickly in a much shorter time than the national grid solutions. And it's also very flexible. So, maybe we do a solution with one technology, two technologies, storage, and we can also get into also looking at the processes and the consumption styles for the company. And based on that, bring in other solutions like energy efficiency. So, we can really put together something really interesting, something custom made for each customer, and much quicker than than if they wait for the national grid to get up to speed. So
sounds like DG is a perfect solution considering the shorter time that it takes to develop, which is, I guess, approximately 3 to 9 months. So let's talk about the technologies, Eric.
Sure.
What are the main technologies that will be required to supply this energy deficient?
Well, we can start with the ones, everyone wants renewables, if at all possible. Let's start with solar photovoltaic, solar PV. That's an excellent solution. You have a large warehouse where you're operating. You can put it on the rooftops. The permitting is fairly agile in Mexico as long as you keep it to a certain size. We also can add storage. Tariff structures are promising to change, so storage will become even more relevant than it is today. Now, if a customer needs 24/7 energy, then you probably start considering things like CHP, combined heat and power. where you not only give them 24/7 electricity, but you can also give them thermal energy for any other specific processes, or even for AC. If it's up in the northern part of the country, we can power an absorption chiller with that heat and generate cooling for those plants. And there's many other solutions. For example, if it's a company that's really, really focused on lowering emissions, we can, thanks to the latitude in where Mexico is located, or the range of latitude, we can also get into many solar thermal solutions. So, we can heat water, we can heat water into steam as well, thermal oils for different processes. So, there's a lot of things we can do, and a lot of solutions, and more on the way.
Okay, that's great news. Umberto, what is your opinion on this? And do you have anything else to add on this subject?
Well, I agree with Eric in terms of technology, along with distributed generation, which is suited to cover the immediate needs of the industry. Solutions will require innovative implementation. So, as Eric was saying, there is a range, a wide range, but the key will be to advertise and to develop a specific project for each industry. Certainly, photovoltaic technology will be the main installed technology for generation, because of the competitiveness, it's cheap energy, but also combined with battery storage and thermal generation that can be either solar or gas based. The current limit in DG is 500 kilowatts in Mexico of power generation. Even though there has been talk about increasing it to 1 megawatts or even 5 megawatts, there is no date yet for this official increase. So hopefully it will come soon. But meanwhile, this kind of short limit, the development of microgrids will become important to address the complexity of combined solutions to provide the flexibility the industry is currently needed. With isolated generation or the growing plans for the current industry that they are thinking of creating these microgrids, isolated microgrids, in order to be able to solve the need they have and to be able to expand. Changing for utility scale, new generation will mainly come from a combination of wind power and solar photovoltaic technologies, as currently they are the most competitive source of energy, but also battery storage is becoming every time more important. And there may be a mix, but it will depend on each project need and circumstances, depending also on the needs on the specific grid. For example, in Baja California right now, a battery is a request from the grid in order to be able to connect. Is not an option. But in the center of Mexico, it depends on the place, and it depends on the energy price in order to see if it's going to be feasible.
Okay, so now that we have several large companies moving to Mexico, and they all need energy for their operations, I would like to talk about Mexico's ability to be able to facilitate this energy requirement. So Eric, how about we start with you? Would you be happy to talk about that?
Sure. Sure. Well, talking about specifically about the implementation of technologies, each technology has its own timeline, but in DG, in distributed generation, in general, most of the solutions can be implemented in less than a year. The project would have to be very large in order to to be longer than that. So we can give as a given that the implementations are short, 12 months or less. Of course, there'll be exceptions depending on the complexity and length and size of the project. So then what really becomes the limiting factor is the agility of the permitting process. So in Mexico, the permitting process, depending on the size of the project, can be a challenge. So unfortunately, some solutions like storage and thermal energy solutions don't require permits yet. So those we're not, there's no limiting of the permitting. So that really applies to solar and CHP. So now the countries, the government is aware of that. So and maybe that's because there's been a lot of pressure from the private sector, and you need to get the permits. We need the big permits to be approved quicker, and now the government is talking about different strategies for fast tracking the permitting process. And by doing that, I think that it will significantly help to make the whole process faster, implementation and permitting. So let's just say it should get faster than it is today, and today it's not that bad.
Okay, well, that's great news that the government is doing something about it. Now that we have covered some important questions about nearshoring in Mexico, Rigoberto, would you like to touch on the relationship between nearshoring and the renewable energy sector for utility scale projects?
Yes, Anita. Well, as Eric just mentioned, DG is faster, is also very reliable, and it doesn't require those many permits, right? So if you are in a company that actually can choose DG as an option, then I will tell you, okay, go with DG. Please don't think about it. But I mentioned earlier, Sonita, any factory, yes, any factory requires electric energy to operate. And the thing with DG is that very large factories require a very large amount of energy. It's as simple as that. No? And that power must come from somewhere, right? So let us pause the source, regardless of the source of that energy. Mexico requires to increase its electrical energy production every year just to keep pace with the internal growing plants, right? It's like basically as any country. But suddenly, you also have all these companies that want to get established in your territory, and these companies will offer you jobs for your people, yes, and they will offer you to pay taxes, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're demanding the energy because they require the energy, okay? And that's an energy that you didn't foresee, right? When you were as a country, you were making your plans. I believe that, yes, I mentioned it. It is not only the requirement of energy, right? But several of these international companies are aligned with the idea of reducing the carbon footprint. Yes, so it's not that simple as give me more energy. The corporate policies demand from them to use clean, renewable energy. Okay.
Yep.
Mexico, we all know, is a member of the Paris Agreement. Okay, so Mexico also has its own commitment to reduce its carbon footprint. So we have two scenarios here. We have one scenario with the new companies like taking advantage of this nearshoring phenomenon. It is happening, but you also have these commitments that you have to fulfill in the near future. I say near future because 2030 sounds like, wow, it's a lot of time yet, yeah, to arrive. No, it's not. Actually, it's around the corner. Sorry. So the only foreseeable option that will actually benefit both scenarios is for CFE. CFE is the Mexican state-owned utility to increase the electrical energy production based on renewable sources. What else? Well, the idea is already in motion, of course. I'm not talking about the Nearshoring, I'm talking about the government. They know the requirements of this additional energy. According to their own goals, I believe the government announced 30 gigawatts. And maybe someone may correct me if this is not the correct information, but I believe they mentioned 30 gigawatts of renewable energy production just in the next decade. Okay. Here at Revolve, we have been closely in touch with all the projects that are actually offering this clean energy to the government. And we know that the current conditions will not allow CFE to offer this much power supply. So we're convinced that private development projects will be important players in this story, at least if it's to happen.
Okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I'm sure our audience will appreciate all the insights you have provided today. As we conclude this webinar, I would like to ask our experts to wrap up by saying a few words on the nearshoring phenomenon in Mexico. So we will start with you, Rigoberto. Would you be happy to start?
Sure. Me again. Well, again, generally speaking, nearshoring presents a great opportunity for Mexico. But this opportunity is not going to be open for long. It's not permanent. Actually, it's going to be only few years. I believe this phenomenon will hit hard, and we're going to see its effects, and this is very important, in the short term. So this is a great moment for renewable energy developments. And I can tell you, for my part here in Revolve, we're very excited about our participation in it.
Okay. So we are all excited, and I'm sure our audience is excited. How about you, Humberto? How about you, Humberto?
Yes, well, as Revolve moves forward, leveraging the private investments in either distributed generation or developing projects in utility scale, we're not only addressing the immediate challenges in these increasing industrial activities, but actively contributing to Mexico's clean energy target, as Rigoberto has mentioned. Revolve Renewable Power is poised to play a pivotal role in shaping a sustainable and resilient energy landscape for Mexico's nearshoring future.
Okay, and Eric, your closing words on nearshoring in Mexico.
Well, there's a great opportunity. The customers and new business partners coming into Mexico really need a company that can come in and offer the solutions they need, technically competent, fair price, and agile and quality implementation. And we are Revolve are positioned to do this. So if our customers need these requirements, we can do that with agility and effectiveness.
Okay. Well, thank you to our three experts, Rigoberto, Humberto, and Eric. They're all based in Mexico and have hands-on knowledge of what is currently happening there with respect to nearshoring. And thank you to our viewers for joining today's webinar. I hope you found the information we shared valuable and insightful. We look forward to all of you joining us again for our next webinar. So please keep an eye out for future announcements that we will be making. In the meantime, don't forget to visit our website and sign up to stay updated on all the activities taking place towards the continued growth of our business here at Revolve. I would like to express our sincere gratitude for your time and participation in joining us. and have a wonderful holiday season. Goodbye and take care from all of us here at Revolve.
Thank you.